Hi everyone. I have actually missed being on your screen, bringing you my authentic real estate story. Welcome to a brand new episode of Mews. And today I have an amazing guest who's going to be sharing his authentic real estate story. But before then, I'd like to remind you that behind everyone and every great business, there is a great story. There are stories all around us, and these stories connect us as humans. It helps us connect the dots backwards and then, of course, make a sense of the future and the world around us. Please welcome to today's episode of my authentic real estate story, Mr. Dare Arigbede. I hope I got that right.
Got it right.
Welcome, Mr. Dare. It's a pleasure to have you on Mews today.
It's a pleasure being here. It's a pleasure being here.
Thank you so much for joining us. For this year, we haven't done much with Mews because a lot has been going on. But we're very happy to be back and to have you come share with us your very interesting story in our very interesting industry. So I've known you, Mr. Dare, for more than a decade now, and it has been interesting to see your growth journey. So let me quickly introduce to you who Mr. Dare is. Mr. Dare Arigbede is an accomplished real estate developer and the CEO of Mews Limited. With 15 years of industry experience, and I have known him for a decade in that 15 years. Interesting. He's known, or more than a decade, right? He's known for exceptional business practices and client service, receiving numerous awards, including the Nelson Mandela Leadership Award. Today, Mr. Dare is sure to inspire and motivate us with his story of success. His extensive knowledge and expertise in the real estate industry makes him a valuable resource for anyone looking to pursue a career in real estate. This, obviously, is promising to be a very interesting and insightful discourse. Good to have you again, Mr. Dare. So I'll go right into it. Like I said earlier, I've known you for more than a decade, and I have seen the growth trajectory. A lot of people will say, oh, this guy is doing well now, the guy don't hit money. Excuse my language. But people wouldn't know the journey that you have gone so far. I knew from how you started with, doing block supply. You were, you planted yourself in the supply space. And you were serving
at the center of it.
Yes, and you were serving the market from there, and then gradually you transitioned. And so today I'd like to ask you, let's go right into it. I understand you studied economics at the University of Lagos, I believe.
Lagos State University.
Lagos State University. Why did you choose to venture into real estate? I remember you starting your career as the middleman in the chain. And as a supplier of most of the developers, you thrived. And then you went into real estate agency, and then you eventually transitioned into property development. Please share with us this story, your transition story.
Thank you very much, ma. It's a pleasure being here. A great pleasure to be here. My story is truly, I want to thank God and say, it's a really an inspiring story for anyone that cares. And I thank you for bringing me to this platform for people to hear my experiences in the real estate industry, and then to get inspired and to learn from those experiences, because we all know that learning is earning. So around 2007, when I was about finishing school, as at that time I was staying with a friend of mine around Shangute. I was staying with his family, and they were very accommodating. And I stumbled on a newspaper around that time. The publication shows that Lagos State was the fastest, particularly Lekki was the fastest, most developing urban center as at that time. So the governor then, in person of Ahmed Bola Tinubu, received that award on behalf of Lagos State from an arm of the United Nations. I think they were celebrating World Habitat Day at that particular year, around that year. Okay. So now said to myself that if Lekki is the fastest, most developing urban center around that time,
and you happen to be in this corridor.
I'm privileged to be in this corridor. Then why would I go to any other? Although there are other sectors that are also calling, but now I said, okay, let me start with that. Interestingly enough, I also have a friend who was doing blog. I spoke to him. I would like to go into this industry with you. I said, you don't have money. What will you do? And I said, okay, let me go into marketing. How much will you be giving me? So we struck a deal. And he said he will be giving me 10 naira per block. So I was now marketing block for him. As at that time, I would carry block on top of Kada and I would put it on my lap.
On your lap?
On my lap, blocks.
Whoa.
Block on my lap. Because some engineers will request for samples because they just believe you need to bring sample of what you profess you are selling.
Oh, I see. So
sometimes I carry on my lap on top of Kada, different. I've actually trekked everywhere in Lekki. Phase 1.
You have to have done that in this industry to understand it.
So I now started marketing the blocks for him, and I met a lot of developers. I met a lot of people trying to talk to them, and I started supplying blocks in hundreds, from hundreds to thousands. An average of a week, I was supplying like 10,000 blocks. In fact, grew up to like 20,000 blocks. Wow. And I had like 6 or 7, not even beyond my friend's capacity. So I had like 6, 7
you had to source
block
industries.
You know, working with them, practically I was like the main guy pushing the supply around those years. And I was doing that, building my fund, and I also I saw opportunity in sand supply. So I also, sand, large, because see Lekki swamp, and I said, before they even need block, they will need sand to even surface first.
Amazing.
Then I have to go into this. I went to sand again, and as I, doing supply of sand, and as at that time, because of my background, a lot of them were accusing me that my prices are too low. And because of my background, I know that for you to increase sales equals price times quantity, basically. And if you don't necessarily have to increase price to increase your sales, you can just increase quantity for you to have a greater volume of sales.
Yes.
So while the other guys there, they were increasing their prices,
I was more concentrating on your volume.
The quantity. So I look at it that people that need 50 trips of sand, you won't give them the same price with someone that needs 5 trips. So I was trying to target the volume, and God helping me then, I was able to meet developers, speak to them, around where I also met my very own Oga, who later turned to my mentor and a father position. I met Dr. Kennedy Okonkwo that has been so helpful to me. So I started supplying sand in hundreds, on average of 1 month. Sometimes I do up to like 600 trips.
Wow.
Sometimes 1,000 trips of sand in a month. So these is small money, but when you multiply it by volume, you can even talk of 2,000 sometimes per trip or 1,000 per trip. But when you multiply it by the volume, by the quantity, it gives you good money. Then I started saving bought my first land. Bought my first land in Ora Estate. Bought my first land, in Ora Estate, and from there, started buying land.
So let me cut you. At the time where you were doing all this supply from block to sand, right? Did you eventually know that you were going to go into real estate development?
No.
At the time you were, gathering the money, and then eventually you bought your first land in Oral Estate. Did you know at that point that you were going to go into?
Not so. But wow. What happened?
So what was that? What was the turning point?
Turning point. What happened was that at maybe every 6 months or at least once a year, I go back to the drawing board, ask myself sincere questions.
Amazing. So for entrepreneurs,
have I been doing well for myself? And if I've been doing well, what next? Because success itself is continuum. A true success must give birth to another success.
Yes.
So I go back to the drawing board, look at how I've been able to do businesses within a 6-month period or 1 year period, and be able to look at it properly and ask myself what next, and be able to take the next step at different times. Some of those things are not really planned from onset, but as things unfold, we begin to look for newer opportunities.
Amazing.
We begin to look for opportunities that are available to us within and outside.
Amazing. And so what this just speaks to is, as an entrepreneur, even in the real estate space, you take time to go back and reevaluate what you have done. And you said you were doing it after every 6 months.
Every 6 months.
You reevaluate what you have done and achieved in 6 months, and then you
look for new opportunities.
Amazing.
To leverage on.
So that's how you went from supplying and then decided to go full-time into real estate. So at this point where you decided to go full-time into real estate, what was your disposition? Why did you want to do full-time property development?
Thank you. I know that because before then, I even did dredging before going to. But it was now so clear to me that dredging was more of marine and not real estate.
That would have been a deviation for you.
A deviation. So I made some money also from it, but it was not giving me the right, impact and the right fund. And there was a time that my father-in-law even came to me and said how am I coping with this? It's totally different from, I saw it totally different from, sometimes we don't have to go to a business that we don't have basic knowledge.
Yeah.
I think it puts you on an unfair playing ground, and it's a disadvantage, put it on the disadvantage.
It becomes a distraction, really.
A distraction. And some of those managing, they will give you, advice
that might not favor you.
Their own selfish interests.
Obviously.
And you cannot be able to deduce that those advice are not good for your business.
And then be able to control the effects.
So you'll be at their mercy, at the mercy of their own advice, either good or bad. So I now say, no, I can't have much control over this business. So and I have to
go back to what I know.
What I know. And I have to sell all my equipment, sell the dredgers, sell and go back to buy.
So this also is another lesson for entrepreneurs. You have to first, you cannot just go and you're testing waters. You have to seek the right knowledge, have the right information before you, and then you have to build and solidify what you are currently doing before you then diversify. You hadn't built your real estate business properly, obviously, at the time. So you were going to go and take money that you were supposed to use to fund your primary to go and fund another, and then you probably would have run into trouble.
So now I had to come back to real estate, and I started another and start developing. it wasn't easy.
So you're going to share with us
my experience at the first project.
Yes.
It wasn't easy building something on Chevron Drive, Chevy View particularly, and building the 4-unit duplexes. It wasn't easy. The fund wasn't really there.
How were you able to fund
the land?
Okay.
But I was doing my other supply. Amazing. And doing other supply and trying to fund it gradually with my own money. I didn't want to go to bank because I believe in organic growth rather than synthetic growth. Different things work for different people. Yes. And then it depends also on how fast you want that growth. I said to myself, if I'm going to go to the bank, it won't be there at the first project. So you can test the waters with your own money and make your mistakes. Exactly. So if I'm going to go to bank, it won't be with my own first project. Let me come out of this first project successfully. Then I'm of the opinion that bank money is good for expansion, not for startup. For scaling. For expansion, for growth, not when you are still testing the business. So when I went into it, I did foundation, then I have a friend who gave me block worth around 3-4 million. I I bought some iron rod, How long did it take you to build this first project? It took me like 8-9 months to build the first project. That was quick for someone who was using his own funds. 8-9 months. So what did you need to do differently that 8-9 months period to be able to raise the finance? I took a lot of materials from people. I think electrical up to 5 million, doors up to 8 million, total like 28 million. So, but fortunately for me, I saw someone that bought into 2 out of from maybe 60% or 70% done. Yes. So I had to pay other people, and I was also able to finish up. Okay, so you were able to get early subscription? Early subscription. Now, the people you said you took 20-something million worth of product, was that credit? Credit. Now, how did you build that credit? Credit. That is place of integrity. That's place of trust. I was in a conference where Vice President Mews spoke to us in that audience, and he told us about how trust can be our greatest collateral, our greatest asset in business. And he now asked us one question that still rings in my mind till today. He asked us that in the Western world, in the US particularly, that don't they do business up to $1 billion? That how can you collateralize $1 billion? But in Nigeria, if you need 50 million, 20 million, they say, where is your collateral? But over there, they do business worth more than $1 billion. How can you ever collateralize $1 billion, for example? So he now told us that trust, our integrity, is our greatest asset in business. So immediately I spoke to those people. They told me they believe me, they trust me that I will be able to give them the money back. How did you build that trust? For someone who is starting, who is watching this, it's easy for you to say integrity goes ahead in business and opens doors for you. How do you build that credibility for a young person who is just starting? To take a credit supply of 28 million. I have been in the industry. Amazing. Doing supply. So my record, my integrity in the supply, when I was supplying blocks, I was collecting from people before then, I was paying them. I was collecting blocks in several thousands and paying them. They won't be the one chasing me. I will be the one calling them that, come, your money is ready. In fact, if their money wasn't ready for 2 weeks, they know that when the money is ready, I will be the one to call them, not the one They were not the one chasing me around. So from those people, I've built my integrity with them over years. So I now have to leverage on that.
Amazing, amazing. So let me ask you another interesting question. I know you're a man of discipline from what you have, just illustrated, and that has enabled you to be a recipient of the Nelson Mandela Leadership Award. How important do you believe that discipline is in achieving success in the real estate industry?
Is key, because for me, if I had not been disciplined with my finances, because I believe that it's not the amount of money that you see that matters, but how you handle the money. You cannot remove financial intelligence from real estate. You cannot. How you handle your finances really matters. I knew that one earlier.
Was that from your economics background, or it's just the personal?
From the part of savings.
Okay.
Like, I had a principle then that I do practice, 80-20 principle. I was aware that study reveals that 80% of Africans spend not less than 80% of their earnings on consumption. So, and I said, for me to come out of poverty, I had to reverse the order. I have to reverse the percentage. So I was practically saving 80% of my earnings, practically, and spending less than 20%. So, and that helps me to build my fund. And you can't take discipline from building fund, building in financial discipline. Financial discipline, as we call it. So that is so important, how we handle the fund. Because when I speak to younger people, they may not like to hear some of these things, but these things are so important. You're also a young person, so they have to hear you. Because, when you look at the industry now, a lot of people are always talking about finance as their limitation, as their barrier to success in the real estate industry. They don't want to, like you rightly said, they don't want to be disciplined enough to go through the rigor of it. The interesting thing about the conversation we have had today is that you built your credibility by serving in the industry. Some people just want to come in and just become developers. And in fact, they will just have money and then they'll just start building immediately. That's important. And when I speak to younger people, I do tell them, some of those things are not too pleasant to the ears, but we must speak them. That's why we're here. That's why we're doing this. I told them that there is something called delayed gratification. Amazing. That delayed gratification is never a denial. No. It's not that you won't have what you like or want, but you have to delay it a bit. That's the meaning. It is never a denial. I'm not part of that. You shouldn't enjoy your money when you work for it. But it can be delayed for a purpose of financial investment. Amazing. That's it. So that's discipline, financial discipline that we are talking about. Yes. So when we practice delayed gratification, we sacrifice the wants of today because of our interest in business, in investments, and have those wants later. Attended to later. It's not like you will not, but not you just deny. It mustn't be today. Then secondly, of importance, there is a place of service. A place of service. That service brings you to a place of rewarding life. How do I mean? Service brings loyalty, and loyalty brings you to a place of rewarding life. When we look at, sometimes we can't just forget, we can't just let go some of the things that have happened in the past, and we must learn from the past, because the past is also a bridge to now and also the future.
If you listen to what I said earlier, I said stories are around us. They help connect us, help us connect the dots back, and then make sense of the future and the world around us. That's what you just re-echoed.
If you look at people that have been successful, Isaac Newton, the great scientist, said, if I've been able to see Father, it's because I stood on the shoulder of people that have gone ahead of me. So that boils down to mentorship and the
service.
Brightest side of mentorship, which some of us doesn't like to do, is service.
They don't want to say
it's service.
But you who has, you started with putting a toe on the ground and then dropping one leg and then eventually dropping two legs. They can hear from you that you have to serve. You have to serve.
Some of the things we are doing in real estate now, some people that have greater funds, even as much as billions, when they come into the real estate, they may not find it easy for them to do it because we learned by serving. But some see that place of service as a place of disadvantage. It's never. When you look
the kind of mistakes those billionaires will make, you would not make them because you already know, that there's a teacher who taught us the road well traveled, the road least traveled, and the road never traveled. So for those who are serving, they are going on the road well traveled. So they know where the potholes are and where to avoid on that journey. And that's what service does for you.
You may need to come out and find a figure in the industry to serve. Women just, it won't take too long. It will take too long.
But you will learn.
You will learn.
It'll be better off for you. Okay, so I'd like to ask you, if you had to go back to start your career again, what would you do differently?
Well, I not a person that gives into regret. You either win or learn, not lose.
Amazing.
What we are saying here is not that things will be easy. We are not promising that. But we are promising that it's possible. We are not saying it's going to be easy. No. But we are saying it's possible. Lessons have been learned in some ways, It's also possible that somebody do business and lose money.
Yes. No more.
But that is not the end.
No, at all.
We can't give in. That's not the end. You can't quit. That's not the end. Because sincerely, you don't expect to do things in a short while and expect the thing to answer profitably to you. There is a place of consistency. There is a place of stay put and going through even the rough stages. Then when you get there, it will always be worth it.
Can you share quickly a few mistakes that you made, a few challenges you encountered, just in a few minutes? What are the mistakes you made on your journey, or the challenges you experienced, and how you were able to manage them? Maybe one or two.
Like diverting into dredging was
it wasn't well thought out.
Wasn't,
Yes.
I just believe that if someone would want to invest and reinvest, we will always be talking about investing and reinvesting, investing and reinvesting, investing and reinvesting. I believe it's more advisable to invest and reinvest in your industry than outside. It's safer. Than outside your industry. Amazing. So sometimes I could be tempted to go outside.
And do technology. Because the tech is hot now. They'll come and sell all sorts of ideas.
A lot of people have brought a lot of what do you call it?
Tech ideas.
Business plan, business proposal, and they are in volume, in my office. But when I look at those things, even me, I can criticize those things that some of these things.
I need to focus.
I need to focus.
I need to keep my focus. Amazing. So I'll just have you say one or two things to that young man, that young woman looking at you now and saying, if he could do it, I can also do it. What are the things that you would say to him or her, that would help, water that seed that they already have and make it blossom?
Wow. Well, I want to encourage people to come into real estate to grow their income and also create wealth. There's an aspect of real estate that people grow income, makes income, and there's an aspect of creating wealth and growing their wealth, asset base. There are a lot of the industry employs both unskilled, semi-skilled, and skilled. So there are numerous opportunities available in real estate. Numerous available. So if I'm to speak to people that are aspiring to be in real estate, we all know the indisputable advantage of real estate investments. I have a banker friend that do explain to me, say, Dari, do you know why we take even buildings, houses for collateral and not cash? He said,
or stock.
He said, if you give me your G-Wagon or Rolls Royce as collateral, I can come at any time I will not see it packed in the place that. But this building, you cannot move it. You cannot move it. So real estate, this is the only investment that will give you income and still be growing, appreciating in value. Yes. The earlier we know it, the better. The earlier we admit that this is the best store of value, the best store of wealth. The earlier we admit, the earlier the better for us.
Amazing.
The better for us. So if I want to speak to them, I will say, let me speak to them in 4 C's. Let me speak to them really in 4 C's. We have what we call character and competency. Character, competency and character, they are two main vitals of businesses. Prospering in business, growing beyond boundaries.
Competence, character.
Yes. When we talk of competency, in real estate, we talk of information that empowers you. We talk of information that empowers you. When we talk of character, you cannot dispute that fact. Character is key. You cannot. Character is key, is strength. Why will people patronize? Why will they deal with you? Sometimes your competency may fail, but your character,
your integrity
will stand.
Yes. And then the third C is what?
Yes. I can call it business maturity. We have to come into a place of business maturity in real estate. We have at one end of the continuum courage, and at the other end consideration. Courage is pushing your own interest, and consideration is taking in the interest of others. So as you are pushing your own interest, also be mindful of the other people's interests. When you now move to the midpoint, to the middle, to the balance, equilibrium, that equilibrium point is what is called business maturity.
Amazing.
Business maturity. You must be considerate of other people's interests while protecting your own interest.
Wow. Wow. Thank you so much. I think we need to have a real estate school where we can where we can have all these nuggets on a day-to-day basis, or even, but very constantly, where people can come and learn from those who have gone ahead. And it would help better our society eventually. Yes, information is very key, like you have highlighted. And for everyone listening, I just want to say thank you so much to Mr. Dare for coming to share with us. And one of the things he has said we should consider, especially if we want to thrive in the real estate industry, are the 4 C's. He mentioned competence, character, courage, and consideration. And if you practice all 4, you would see that nothing will stop you. And so at this point, I'd like to say thank you so much for joining us today on My Authentic Real Estate Story. Thank you so much, Mr. Dare, for coming to share with us and filling us afresh with new nuggets that would help us excel. Thank you, and see you again soon.